Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at Keeneland, and we'll also be talking some Maryland Million Day at Laurel Park. James, it's good to see you, and Darin, welcome back.
Good to be back. Always good to join you. I had the unfortunate circumstance of having to get in a recall on my car last week. So, they give you a real tight window to get that car in there and make it life or death. So, had to skip out last week, but good to be back.
Well, sorry to hear about that. Let's move over to happier news. Can you talk about some promos at TwinSpires this week?
Yeah, well, obviously we have our jury promo going once again with the bonus code to be entered the jury. It's a 15% win bonus. You can only get that by knowing the code, and you're only going to know the code if you watch us here. So be sure to enter the jury and get that promo code. We also have our NHC qualifier, fourth feeder for the qualifier this week at Keeneland, taking place on the QE2 card on Saturday. And we have that Keeneland win bonus, 15%, where the more bets you connect on, the higher that win bonus gets. And that is available each and every day. Certainly one of the better promos we offer. So a lot of good stuff for the thoroughbreds. And I'll briefly mention for the harness fans as well, Breeders' Crown coming up in a couple of weeks. We've got a Breeders' Crown tournament. We partnered with Hoosier Park. $20,000 is going to be on the line Breeders' Crown weekend. And we have 4 qualifier tournaments to get yourselves a spot in that big contest for the Breeders' Crown. And they start with the first one on Friday night of this week as well. So as always, we have plenty to go around for everybody, Ashley.
Sounds good. And James, we'll let you start things off today. What is your best bet of the weekend, and where are you going to play that?
Saturday's Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, Grade 1. Queen Elizabeth at Keeneland came up very salty. Got 3 European shippers, got a couple of horses that are making their second U.S. start, including Elusive Princess. I thought it was a very deep field of 3-year-old fillies. And I landed on number 7, Sound of Heaven, for my best bet of the week. 8-1 on the morning line. This is a 3-year-old filly that needs firmer ground. Last time out, she caught it real soft turf in the Prix de Rothschild and didn't fire her best effort against a really classy rival that day. But I'm buying the form line 2 starts back, where she was 3rd in the Coronation to Tahira. Tahira will be one of the top contenders in the Breeders' Cup Mile off of 3 consecutive Group 1 wins. And I think if Sounds of Heaven runs back to that performance, she's going to be a major player Saturday. The other thing that Sounds of Heaven has going for her is she's shown some tactical positional speed in her starts overseas, raced up in 2nd, 3rd, close to the lead. I think that will serve her well because there isn't a lot of speed in this 12-horse Queen Elizabeth field. So her jockey, Shane Foley, will have some options aboard her. I'm going Sounds of Heaven in the Queen Elizabeth Challenge Cup. Darin, who's your best bet?
Yeah, I looked at that race too, James. I like your pick, but my big note on that is good luck to the U.S. contingent, because that race came up incredibly tough with European runners. It'll be interesting to see which of these come back in 3 weeks' time to run in the Breeders' Cup as well, because that field is certainly loaded. I went to a maiden special weight on the card at Keeneland, race number 5. I'm going to go with number 3, Zippadoo. The logic here, guys, is this is a race with a lot of horses that are going to be considered viable players that just don't want to win. You know, they caught maybe the second itis bug. Catmint, I know, is going to take a lot of money off a couple of good efforts, including a 2nd place finish last time out. But I thought in that particular spot, the horse didn't seem to love the mile on 8th, was kind of even in the stretch. And then take a look at a couple of the other horses that are going to take money. The 9 Heckled, 4 consecutive runner-up tries. The horse is 0 for 7 lifetime, whereas Zippadoo is a horse that only has 3 lifetime starts, does have some gaps in between the starts, but I respect Grand Motion when he shows up in a spot like this. You're getting a big rider upgrade here to Flavian Pratt. The horse was a good second in his return to the races at Colonial, going a mile over the turf there, including a race where he made the lead mid-stretch before getting a little bit tired. Could have been an indication that this filly was a little bit short that day. Now she gets her 2nd race back off the layoff. I think this is probably setting her up for maybe her peak effort. So Zippadoo for me at 9-2 to break her maiden in race number 5 at Keeneland, Ashley.
Yeah, like it, just beaten half a length by Safine on debut at 1 1/16 of a mile. So yeah, I think that's a good shot. I'm going to go with a long shot, number 4, Sherrar, in race 7, a 1.5 mile allowance on turf at Keeneland. Last out, Sherrar was 2nd by a decent amount to a next out Grade 2 winner in Balladeer. And Sherrar was racing on Lasix for the first time, has yet to win in 4 starts since shipping to the U.S., but think he has a chance racing on Lasix a second time. It's a winning move for Todd Pletcher, 26% of the time. John Velasquez will retain the mount. He's 5 for 16 this meet at Keeneland. And Sherrar posted a 100 brisnet speed figure last out at Kentucky Downs. Was racing 1 5/16 of a mile, close to today's distance, had the highest last race speed figure among the field. So I'm going to take a shot at that price at 12-1. I think the morning line favorite's vulnerable at the distance. Neil Drysdale's just a 9% winner at the allowance level. I also thought about number 6, Foreign Relations at 9-2. This is a horse that technically has crossed the wire twice in 2 of 3 tries at 1.5 miles, actually back in the spring meet. Crossed the wire first in a race at this distance, but was disqualified for a dangerous move by the rider, but then came back and won the Grade 3 Louisville at this distance. So I think has a shot here too, but I'm going to take that price at 12-1 on Sherrar.
I like it. I do think Foreign Relations is a potential major player, but I think, unfortunately for you, Ashley, I don't know if you're going to get 12-1. Todd Pletcher's the leading trainer at Keeneland. I think people are going to take note of that. Balladine came back and won the John Henry Turf. Looks like he could be in the Breeders' Cup Turf off of that effort. That horse was really in good form that day, Kentucky Downs. And also on both the September 9th and September 10th, I thought the course played a little favorably towards front runners. And so Sherrar was rallying from far back that day, was a clear second. That's really a good effort to move forward off of in this non-winners of 2 other than allowance.
All right, let's talk about the horses we're not going to back at a short price. Darin, who do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to try to beat First Mission in the late pick 4, late pick 5. He's coming back in a race number 10, and non-winners of 2 other than allowance. 3-year-old that's facing older for the first time, which, yeah, admittedly may not matter as much this time of year, but this is a horse that has only faced 3-year-olds, and he hasn't been on the racetrack in 6 months. So this is a little bit of a different story. He did win the Lexington. He beat Arabian Lion, but he did work out a perfect inside-out trip that day, chased down Arabian Lion, who was on the front end. It was a very good effort, make no mistake about it. But he is coming back off a minor issue. And just with three races under his belt, he doesn't have a lot of seasoning to him. Catches a field of older runners. Granted, none of these are sensational or accomplished that much throughout their careers. Have a lot of these horses have run second, third in some tough spots. And I don't necessarily have a target on one particular horse that I like to beat him. I just think this is a race where his price is he's going to be overbet, in my opinion, based on his actual chances of winning the race. And when that situation presents itself, I try to fade a horse like that in the multi-leg exotics, spread against him with some other price plays in here, try to beat him and zag when everybody else zigs. He's going to be 3-5 in this spot. And, he could run a good second, run a good third, and for sure he could definitely beat me. I just don't think he's 65% likely to win this race, which is what his odds are going to reflect, Ashley.
Yeah,
I think it's a bold stance. Listen, he's got to come back running, but Darin, I think you're underselling that Lexington Stakes. I think Arabian Lion was coming into top form during the spring. He went in off the Lexington. He won the Sir Barton by open lengths, and then he won the Grade 1 Woody Stevens on Belmont Stakes Day. He's 3 lengths clear at the top of the short stretch at Keeneland. I didn't think there were many 3-year-olds in training that could have run him down that day. I thought he was going to win the Preakness, and I'm bullish on First Mission. Like I said, he's got to come back and do it. You might be correct, but we'll be against each other on that tab.
So James is not taking a stand against First Mission, but who are you going to take a stand against this week?
I'm going to go against a Chad Brown horse, 3-year-old filly in race number 8. It's an allowance race at Keeneland Saturday. Number 10, A Seed. She's the morning line favorite at 7-2. She's going to receive support. Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz Jr. This is a 3-year-old filly that undoubtedly flashed early talent. She won her maiden by open lengths this spring, and then came back and ran a very respectable third to Red Carpet Ready and Money's Gold in the Grade 2 8 bells at Keeneland at Churchill Downs on Derby weekend. But in her last 3 starts, I think she's just gone off form. I mean, she struggled to beat any rivals in those races, been beaten by pretty well beaten in all 3 starts. And while she's still relatively lightly raced and could get things turned around eventually, the fact remains that a seed ran her fastest 2 races in her first 2 races. She's going to be at short odds in her 6th career start on Saturday, and has the pattern that I like to fade short runners at with that pattern. So I'm going to take a stand against the seed. Who are you going to fade, Ashley?
So bringing it back to that Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, I'm going against number 4 Maj at 2-1. This is a filly. She's 5 for 8 lifetime, but making her first US start. She did win her last 3 at a mile and even beat, at 9-1, beat Tahira in the 1,000 guineas. And Tahira came back and won her next 3 all Group 1s. But to me, it's a question mark with Maj, shipping to the US and also stretching out beyond a mile for the first time. Also looking at the history of this race, with European-based trainers, we haven't seen one of them win since 2011, which was Aidan O'Brien with Together. But Chad Brown's been dominating this particular race. He actually has won 4 of the last 5, and Flavian Pratt won the last 2. I'm going to look elsewhere. I actually like number 2, Elusive Princess, who came out and won the Saratoga Oaks last out in her U.S. debut. And I mean, Chad Brown's got 2 runners in this field. They're both long shots, but I actually wouldn't ride off. I mean, I can't say the word, prerequisite. I actually think at 20-1 could be interesting with Irad Ortiz Jr. What do you all think?
Speed. She has speed, and I don't think there's a lot of pace in there. So we saw Irad. He's still a race yesterday, wire to wire on that turf. He's good with front runners. It's not impossible, but she is in really tough.
Yeah, I think that this is a bit more of an exception to the rule year with the Europeans. I just think they're much better than the American 3-year-old fillies. Some of these fillies that are coming in, they're not just like, sometimes you get a second tier Euro to come into this spot who's been getting beat up a little bit by some of the really good 3-year-old fillies. You're not getting that here. You're getting some top flight European 3-year-old fillies. And if they get picked off by an American runner in here, I would be extremely surprised, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, James, let's talk about what you're looking forward to this weekend. I know part of that is First Mission, of course, but I think a couple other Brad Cox runners are on your radar as well.
Yeah, Brad Cox has a couple of other horses I'll mention, as well as First Mission coming back. He has a pair of last out flashy maiden winners. In race number 3, number 6 Light Line, 4-5 on the morning line. This is a $650,000 2-year-old son of City of Light that won his debut by 13 lengths at Horseshoe Indianapolis, was bet down in that race. Figures to take a lot of action in this entry-level allowance. So excited to see Light Line. I might have said Flight Line, but Light Line run. And then in race number 8, Pumpkin Scone. This is a filly. She's run 3 times. She's been like odds on in all of her starts, or bet down in all of them, and didn't run poorly in her first 2, but she finally broke through at Ellis Park last time out, won by 7.5 lengths. She cost $1.25 million at auction. 3-year-old filly by End of Mischief, Pumpkin Scone. I'll be watching to see how Light Line and Pumpkin Scone run for Brad Cox, as well as First Mission in the finale at Keeneland. What else are you looking for, Darin?
Well, big day of racing. Got to give a shout out to Laurel Park, Maryland Millions Day on Saturday. They give some of the Maryland breds an opportunity to run for some serious cash. Tremendous fields throughout the day. And one of the real good storylines, a feel-good story, is the return of Luna Bell to the races. She was the champion 3-year-old filly in Maryland last year before getting sidelined with some bone bruising following her effort in the Black Eyed Susans, where you know that she ran too poorly for it to be a true indication of her current form. She's been off now for 1.5 years. They tried to get her back to the races. She had a ligament issue. They had to send her back to the sideline again. They tried to get her in foal, believe it or not, earlier this year, but she didn't catch. So then she went back into training again. She's come back. They say that she's doing really well. And no prep race. She's going right into the Maryland Millions here, which is a really interesting situation. And she's actually cataloged in the November Keeneland sale coming up next month as well. So Luna Bell for trainer Hamilton Smith, who's been around the Maryland circuit for decades, would be a really cool story if she can come back and fire a big shot and win the Maryland Millions distaff. Great day of racing, but I'll be sure to tune in and watch this one and see if Luna Bell can return to her best form.
She's got some tough competition with Bill D'Esprit. That's, I think, 13 for 21 at Laurel. So going to be tough. But yeah, possibly.
That's where all the stakes racing is for the most part. I mean, Keeneland and Aqueduct have like one graded stakes. Laurel's got that Maryland Million Day. And like Darin said, there'll be I'll be paying attention to some of those stakes.
Now I wanted to mention the Maryland Million Classic with number 4, Our Nation on Parade, looking to make history here. This is a 4-year-old gelding who won the Classic last year, then proceeded to finish 2nd or 3rd in his next 5 starts, ended up winning an allowance this season, and then again finished 2nd and 3rd in his next 2 starts. Actually was off the board last race, which was the Polynesian Stakes at Pimlico, looking to bounce back here. And if he can pull off the win, he'll be the 6th horse to win back-to-back Classics, and also will join 7 other horses that have won 3 races on Maryland Million Day. Our Nation on Parade won in his 2nd career start in the Maryland Million Nursery, so has a chance to collect that 3rd win. But I will say reins in the forecast, and this horse is 0 for 5 on off tracks, so it could be difficult. He's also reopposing that rival that beat him in the Polynesian, which is number 2 Double Crown at 9 to 5 on the morning line. So not sure if it's going to happen for Our Nation on Parade, but certainly a fun story that he could make history in this race.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time there wasn't rain in the forecast here on the East Coast. That continues to be a trend each and every weekend. But it's going to be interesting. Our Nation on Parade in all 3 is probably going to hook up early on, do battle, and Double Crown, I'm sure, is going to probably take back and try to make one more late run on them. So going to be an interesting way to wrap up the Maryland Million Day for sure. A compelling edition of the Classic.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the jury. Again, use that promo code, the jury, all one word, for that 15% boost on your win wagers. For the races we talked about in our best bets and fades section, we'll be back on Tuesday with the Racing Roundtable to recap a bunch of these races. And then on Thursday, back with our best bets and fades of the week as well. We'll see you then.